Hey, sweetie.
Go away, I'm using the bathroom.
No, but I got a really great idea.
What now?
Let's live in a tent while I build the house.
Really?
One of the first things we had to solve was where are we going to live while we build a house. After we buy the land and we're ready to start building, we needed a place to live. And since we're doing this in another state, we couldn't go and work on the house from where we currently live. It was too far away. When we were looking at options for what we could live in while we build our house, there were a lot of challenges here. When we considered an apartment, there were multiple issues with that. It put us off site, which I felt was going to take away a lot of productive time. There would be a commute depending on how close we could find an apartment to rent. There's security issues. Can't leave, if I leave the tools and stuff on a home site and there's nobody there to watch it, somebody could come up and steal your stuff. The other issue was there was rent, expensive rent involved. There was a lease. We didn't want to lease an apartment and then have to turn around and fulfill that contract, that leasing agreement. And then there was also the fact that I didn't want to move twice. If we moved to an apartment, we'd have to get settled in, and living out of boxes is just impractical. I've been there. It just doesn't work. So we would end up having to move in a short period of time. And so why would you do that? Moving's no fun, and I didn't want to do that. Finding a way to live on our property while we build a home was the best answer. One of the options I came across was to buy a camper, a used camper, for roughly around $10,000 and then live in it while we build the house. And then we can sell the camper and recuperate most of our investment. But I didn't like that idea because that would tie up roughly $10,000. Which was a significant portion of our funds, our savings. So I didn't want to buy a vehicle to be able to move a camper. I didn't have a vehicle to move a camper, so a camper really wasn't it. I came across a channel on YouTube called Pure Life for Living, and that's the route they went. They bought a camper and they're living in it as they build their house. And I'll put a link to their channel below because it's really cool what they've done and how that's worked out for them. But it wasn't for us. It seemed too small for a family of 5. So you may be wondering what that video clip at the beginning was all about. So this was the idea I came up with. And again, I said I'll be very dynamic in your thinking, and if you really want something there, you'll come up with some pretty crazy ideas. I've never built a house, but since we're building a small house, I was thinking about 600 square feet is kind of roughly the size that I'm talking about building. And the main reason is because it'd be fast and it'd be cheap and we can always add on to it later. But we needed a place to live for now. So my thinking was this: I could clear land. I could make trips and go spend a week out there and clear a place to build a house. Get all the material there. Go ahead and have it all there on site. And then we moved there, and I figured in about 2 weeks I could pour the foundation, get the foundation done, and get the building in the dry. Now, I had never done this. I thought it can't be that hard, right? And talking to people who've done it, they said, yeah, sure, there's no reason you can't do it in 2 weeks. So my idea was, I told my wife, hey, I got an idea. Let's just live in our tent for 2 weeks. And she was... Now she really wants to move, okay? So that's kind of in my favor as far as these crazy ideas go, I guess. But she actually was kind of agreed to the idea. She likes camping, right? So we've got a nice tent, but any more than 2 weeks, she said she was going to go move and live with her family, live with her sister or something. So I was really believing I could get it done, but I definitely had my doubts. And that was kind of the option that I was going to go with. I figured I'd build an outdoor shower so we could bathe, use propane hot water heater, one of the on-demand hot water heaters. By the end of 2017, we'd buy the land, and then sometime in the spring is when I was planning on actually doing all of the construction, getting started on the construction, and we'd move there sometime in the spring. That was the idea anyways. Camping out didn't seem like a terrible idea. It wasn't going to be too hot. It was before the summer, and it wasn't going to be too cold because it wasn't wintertime. And we were only talking about 2 weeks. And then once I got the building in the dry, we could live in there, kind of like a hard shell tent, while I finish out the inside. And it was a crazy idea, I admit to it. It was just crazy, but what options do we have? And it was the least expensive option. We were going to spend a lot of money on it. We already had the tent, and we could, it'd just be a camping trip for 2 weeks, or possibly longer. But I was going to be without a wife and family if it took longer than that until I got a place for them to live. Right around the beginning of April, I was talking to my dad on the phone, and he tells me about a motorhome, a Class C motorhome that I can get for cheap. And after we're doing some bargaining and stuff like that, ultimately it came out to $600. It was a 1996 Four Winds Class C motorhome, 27 feet long, built on the Ford E350 chassis, the wagon, the Econoline wagon. When he first came up with the idea, I was like, no, I don't want a motorhome. Why do I want a motorhome? Those things are, I'd never even considered a motorhome because they're expensive. That's what I always thought, that they're, you're talking about $40,000, $50,000 or something like that, just way out of my price range. For $600, I got to thinking, well, that's better than a tent, right? And it looked rough. Now, I have no experience with motorhomes prior to this. I mean, there was a camper when I was a kid. We had one for a short while, but that was pretty much it. I had no knowledge, no experience, and just never been interested in a motorhome. Me and my wife talked about it. And we thought about it for a few days, and we thought, for $600, how can you go wrong, right? We had never gone and physically seen this thing. He sent me a few photos, looked at it, and it looked a little rough, needed a little bit of work. That's what I thought anyways, right? Put a few grand into it and we can make it whatever we want. It was a little rough around the edges, but oh man, that'd give us a place to live, much more comfortable than living in a tent. And again, I had serious doubts about it only being 2 weeks long. It was an unrealistic timeline, I believe. I sent my dad the money, sent him $600. He actually took the money and bought the RV from the guy and then mailed us the title. I didn't actually get to go see the RV until May 27th of 2017. Once I got there, I realized just how much I had bitten off. I mean, it was bad. It was in bad shape. This had extensive water damage. The roof was gone on it pretty much. It needed a completely new roof. The floor had rotted out. I mean, it was bad. There was delamination on the outside, and I just thought, well, it's just a project, right? Just fix it up and put a little money into it, and you'll have a great RV. Now, it only had 50,000 miles on it, and the motor was solid. So this is the beginning of phase one in our journey, and that is our motorhome. As we thought more about it, we got more and more excited about it because of the possibilities. Not only would we have a place to live, but now we have a place, especially while our children are still young, we have a place that we can go and explore the country. Go see places that we never would have seen otherwise. And it's cool because no matter what, we have a home now. So in the next video, I'm going to get into the remodel. And it needs a lot of work. There's a lot of challenges too. The motorhome is not going to replace us buying land and building a home. It just adds an extra dimension to it. If you have stories about something similar there, please share in the comments below. We'd love to interact with you, love to engage, and be sure to subscribe. And I'll bring you some more videos soon. Thanks for watching.